I finally lost 30 pounds and I'm keeping it off, but before my success story, this journey was just a classic yo-yo diet nightmare. I was constantly starting over, I was feeling sick and weak, losing weight only to gain it all back, and I was just deeply unhappy. I hated how I looked and I felt like I was always failing. I'm going to share my 5 biggest regrets from that cycle and what I personally would do differently if I had to lose all of the weight again, but this time without losing my mind. This isn't about some magic pill or a secret workout. This is about undoing the damage of diet culture and learning to treat your body with respect, not as a project that you need to fix. If you have ever felt like your weight loss journey was a battle that you were losing, then stick around because I'm going to reframe this entire process for you. But before that, let's get real for a minute. You see the before and after pictures online, you see the success stories, the transformation posts, and it looks so simple. It's just a straight line from point A to point B, and from the outside, my journey to losing 30 pounds probably looked like that too. My friends and family saw the number on the scale go down, they saw me fitting into smaller clothes, and sometimes they even congratulated me. But behind the scenes, it was just really frustrating, exhausting, and frankly, it was a very unhealthy experience. I was this textbook example of what not to do. I made every classic mistake that you can imagine because I was just so desperate for a change and convinced that feeling weak and miserable was just part of the price you had to pay. I thought that to be successful in finally losing the weight, that I had to suffer through it. I thought that hunger, exhaustion, and obsession were just badges of honor on the road to being like fit. And I know now how incredibly wrong that is. The truth is that sustainable and healthy weight loss, it's not a sprint to a finish line. It's more about changing your entire relationship with food, exercises, but most importantly, it's about changing your relationship with yourself. It's a journey of building health and not just shedding the weight. And I learned that the hard way. So today I'm pulling back the curtain. I'm sharing the 5 things with you that I personally deeply regret about how I lost those 30 pounds. And I really hope that you can learn from my mistakes. We're going to dismantle the toxic ideas I held and replace them with compassionate strategies that actually work for the long haul. My first and honestly my biggest regret was my obsession with speed. I wanted the weight gone and I wanted it gone yesterday. I was driven by an upcoming vacation, maybe a specific date on the calendar, and I treated my body like it was on a deadline. I would step on the scale every single morning, and if I hadn't lost like at least half a pound, then I would feel like a complete failure. And this mindset led me straight down the path of extreme measures. I cut my calories so low, far below what my body actually needed to function, believing that more suffering would finally break the cycle of gaining and losing. And I remember this stupid feeling so clearly, constant hunger, being fatigued all the time, and I was so irritable, you cannot imagine that. I couldn't focus at work, my energy was a total shot, and I was so focused on that rapid drop on the scale that I ignored every single signal my body was actually sending me. And yeah, for a week or two, the scale would move quickly down and I would lose 3, maybe 4 pounds, sometimes even more. And I would get this rush of validation, something like, see, it's working. That's what I tell myself. But it was a house of cards. This rapid weight loss, that was not just fat. It was water weight and, more importantly, precious muscle mass that I lost along the way. I had very little to begin with and now it got even less. So you can just imagine my frustration out of that. Extreme calorie restriction can actually slow down your metabolism, making it even harder to lose weight in the long run. Your body, being smart, thinks it's starving and it goes into survival mode, holding on to every calorie for dear life. So what I would do differently now is completely forget about deadlines. Health is not a 30-day challenge. The goal should never be to lose weight as fast as possible, but to lose it in a way you can actually maintain forever. A healthy, sustainable rate of weight loss is about 1 to 2 pounds per week max. Depending on your starting weight, obviously the number can be a little bit higher. And that might not sound as exciting as lose 10 pounds in 10 days or lose 20 pounds in 5 hours. But honestly, it's the difference between a temporary fix and a permanent lifestyle change. And to do this, now I would use a moderate and consistent calorie deficit, because even small deficits are enough to create fat loss, but without triggering your body's starvation response. It also prevents the extreme hunger, fatigue, and muscle loss that come with crash dieting. It's about playing the long game here. Instead of sprinting toward the finish line and collapsing, I would just adopt a steady and even enjoyable pace that I could keep up for life, knowing that some weeks I maybe lose a pound and some other weeks maybe I lose 2 and the next week I lose nothing. But that's all part of a normal, non-linear process. If you ever heard about that weight loss should be linear, that is complete nonsense. It's always going to be up and downhill. So you always have these fluctuations and stuff. And the focus should shift from speed of the journey to the sustainability of the habits that you are building and the person you are becoming. My second huge regret was falling again and again into this all or nothing trap. And this one is fueled by what I call the good versus the bad food mentality. In my mind, my diet was a battlefield. On one side, you had the good food, salads, plain chicken breast, steamed broccoli, vegetables. And on the other side, there were the bad foods. Pizza, ice cream, bread, everything fun, chocolate, pretty much anything that brought joy. And I was convinced that to finally succeed, I had to completely eliminate all of the bad stuff, the fun stuff, and there was no in between. I was either on my diet, eating perfect, or I was off the diet, spiraling into a guilt-ridden binge. I remember going to birthday parties and spending the entire time agonizing over the cake instead of enjoying my time. I told myself, you cannot have any cake. And I watched everyone else enjoying a slice, and I just was sitting there with my black coffee feeling deprived and resentful. Later those nights when I came home, I was feeling totally defeated that I didn't eat that cake, and I was having these massive cravings leading me to eat this amount of rice. And you know what I mean? I was not eating the cake to basically save the calories, but ruining my diet anyways with other food in the long run. And the guilt was immediate and just crushing afterwards. I told myself that I had ruined my entire progress now and that I might as well just give up for the rest of the week. This black and white thinking creates this vicious cycle of restriction, craving, then binging and getting even more into this guilt spiral. And it's psychologically talking really exhausting and it just will set you up for failure. Labeling foods as good or bad attaches a moral value to eating. You're not a bad person for eating a cookie. Food is just food. It's energy and nutrients. And if I were doing it all again, then I would embrace flexible eating from day one. And don't get me wrong, flexible dieting isn't a free-for-all. It's a structured but adaptable approach. And instead of forbidden foods, it focuses on hitting daily targets for calories and protein. This framework encourages you to eat mostly nutrient-dense whole foods like lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, complex carbs, because they are filling and have the nutrients your body needs. But it also leaves you room for the treat, slice of birthday cake, maybe for chocolate, whatever you want to eat, but this time without any guilt. As long as it fits your overall calorie goals for the day, you should be perfectly fine. You can lose weight while enjoying your life. This approach totally dismantles the all or nothing mindset, and there's no falling off the wagon. There is no wagon. There's just a path, and sometimes you take a small enjoyable detour, and that detour might be chocolate. I learned that diets who allow for flexibility are more successful at maintaining weight loss long term because it cuts down the feeling of being deprived and the urge to binge eat. And all of this should be about balance and moderation and not moral purity. It's about rebuilding a positive relationship with food where nothing is off limits and everything can be enjoyed in a mindful but balanced way. My next regret is how I viewed exercises in the past. For me, for most of my life, exercises wasn't about getting stronger, improving my heart health, or even relieving stress. I saw them as a transaction, a sort of punishment that you had to endure to burn as many calories as possible. I was even convinced at some point that you need to spend hours on the treadmill or doing crazy cardio in order to lose weight. There was a short amount of time where I chose workouts based on which one promised you the highest calorie burn instead of what I actually enjoyed, and the whole thing started feeling like a chore. I remember forcing myself to do these high-intensity interval trainings for a week, but not because I felt like it, but just because I had this stupid idea I needed to lose the weight as fast as possible. And believe me if I say I was miserable. My body hurt it, and all I could think about was how many more minutes I had to suffer through this stupid workout. And that approach is completely unsustainable. When you treat exercises like a chore, you are relying on your willpower to get it done. and willpower will run out, and eventually you will burn out, and then you will stop doing the thing that you hate so much. And this is why so many people start a new workout routine on Monday and have already given up by Friday. They haven't found a way to make movement a joyful part of their lives yet. And knowing what I know now, my approach to fitness would be completely different. First, I would just start walking, like seriously just walking. I would make it a non-negotiable daily habit to hit more steps than I usually do. And walking is one of the most underrated forms of exercises. It's low impact, it's free, and it's super effective for building consistency and burning calories without it feeling like a workout. And from there you can build on that, and the goal should be to find movements that you genuinely enjoy. Maybe it is dancing in your living room or hiking, maybe calisthenics, cycling, lifting weights in the gym, whatever it is. The key is to reframe exercises from something that you should do to something that you actually want to do. And there's a big difference in this. When you find an activity that you love, you stop seeing it as just burning calories and start seeing it more as a hobby, a form of self-care. I would also add any form of strength training 3 to 5 times a week, depending on your starting level. Building muscle is so important for a healthy metabolism. The more muscle you have, the more calories your body burns even at rest. And it's all about shifting the goal from punishment to empowerment, celebrating what your body can do rather than just punishing it for how it looks. My next regret ties back to my obsession with the number on the scale. Every morning I would step on that little square in my bathroom, and that number would dictate my mood for the entire day. If the number was down, I felt amazing. If it was the same, or oh my god, even up, then I would spiral into anxiety and self-loathing. I gave this small number on the scale the total power over my self-worth, and what I didn't understand at that time was that weight loss is not linear. Your weight can fluctuate daily because of 100 different things: water retention from a salty meal, hormones, when you last ate, or even just a tough workout. And I would have a great week of eating well and exercising, and then I step on the scale and see the number go up by a pound. I would immediately think, what's the point? This isn't working, and totally defeated, confirming again that my belief that I was always failing was correct. By focusing and fixating only on this one data point, I was completely blind to all the real progress that I was making. I was ignoring the fact that my clothes were fitting better, that I had more energy, that I was sleeping better, and that my mood had improved because of that. These are the what I call non-scale victories, and they are actually more important than the daily number on the scale. So if I were to start this journey again, then I would completely change how I measure my progress from the beginning. I mean, yes, I would still weigh myself every single day to get an idea of my weekly average. That's very important. But I would use that number as just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. I would focus more on the non-scale victories, like taking progress photos and measurements more often, because photos and taking measurements of your waist will show you changes in your body shape that the scale just can't. I would keep a journal and track things like my energy level, my mood, how my clothes feel, my performance during my workouts. Am I able to do more pull-ups? Can I just walk a little bit farther or faster than last month? These are the real signs of progress, and they reflect real improvements in your overall health and not just your relationship with gravity. Shifting your focus from these external numbers to your internal experiences transforms your entire journey. And now it's no longer about chasing a number that can leave you feeling empty. It's about building a life that feels healthier, more vibrant, and that's a goal worth pursuing no matter what the scale says. The next regret is that I was thinking I had to be on this journey all alone. I saw my weight loss as this personal battle, this secret struggle that I had to win through sheer force of will. At some point I was even embarrassed to talk about it, especially after failing so many times before. I thought asking for help was a sign of weakness, and that's why I isolated myself. And my new habits, like avoiding social events with food, those ones probably made my friends feel like I was pushing them away. And that isolation made the journey 10 times harder. When I had a tough day or felt my motivation was slipping, I had no one to turn to anymore. And the diet world often pushes this extreme idea that it's all up to you, but we are social creatures and we need connection and community. And trying to make a huge lifestyle change like this, it's extremely difficult. You're fighting your old habits, your environment, and your own inner critique all by yourself. And it's an uphill battle that you don't have to fight alone. If I could do it over, I would build my support system from day one. And look, this doesn't mean that you have to announce your weight loss goals to the whole world, but it does mean finding a group that you can be honest with. And I really wish at the beginning of my journey I had found a group that was focused on sustainable health rather than extreme diets. Being part of a community reminds you that you aren't alone in the struggle, and it also normalizes the ups and the downs. And it gives you a space to share tips, celebrate the wins, and find strength in numbers. This shouldn't be a lonely road full of suffering. It should be a shared journey of growth. So if you feel like being surrounded by like-minded people on the same path would help you reach your goals faster, I've put a link in the description below. Come join us and let's do this together. Losing those 30 pounds was a success on paper, but the way I did it was a failure in self-care. The real transformation started after my weight was lost, when I began to unlearn all of those toxic habits and I actually started rebuilding my life around health, joy, and self-respect. And it's about making sustainable changes that add to your life and not take away from it. It's about flexible eating, joyful movements, celebrating every kind of progress, and leaning on others for support. It's about seeing this as a lifelong choice for your health and not a temporary sprint to escape unhappiness. And I really hope my regrets can serve as a bit of a roadmap for you to do it better.